Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and today's episode, I'm going to go over a little bit of a bit of a history episode. It's in November, and November is kind of a special sort of month for us because a lot of the my friends and basically who all started as customers in my anime store all have their birthday sort of coming up in November. So it's almost an annual tradition like no other. We usually have our group birthday party in November, which is somehow we've coined as the Big Brother's Birthday Bash. Lots of B's in there. Anyway, that's sort of for an Aniki meeting there. So basically, just going to step back a little bit and go over a little bit of the history of it. So back in the late 80s and 1990 area there, I got into this hobby of anime, trying to collect up a lot of anime and that kind of stuff and whatnot. At that sort of time, I realized that in order to be able to fully service Vancouver, I really needed to have like an office or at least a storefront so that people can come in, we can get the anime, then I could we can get into like rentals, or I can sell things and that kind of stuff. But I needed to get a place to start with, right? So that's when basically I opened up my first store, Animation Eye, and the first location was on the corner of Renfrew and Broadway. Okay, and that was the first rendition of my anime store. And at that time, I started getting a lot of customers and that kind of stuff in because it's right on a fairly busy street, very close to the high school, very close to a bus, two different bus routes. The store was right in front of a bus stop. So there was lots of foot traffic, a lot of people coming in, and as I get these customers and stuff coming in, some of the people that came in all the time were starting to become regulars, and we started to learn a lot about these people, and a lot of the mannerisms and that kind of stuff of all these people that sort of hung out at the store, and we started to get to know these people much better. Okay, and so these people, as I said, were also interested in doing a lot of activities together. So one of the things that commonly happened was on Fridays, we would do something what we refer to as the Iwase Run. Okay, Iwase is a Japanese bookstore chain like Kinyu Kanua. It opened up in a mall in Richmond here, and it was part of the Yaohan Center. Yaohan being the Taiwanese mall chain. Okay. And basically, the purpose of me going there was to basically go in and get the latest new type magazines. Go and purchase magazines such as this, or Animedias and that kind of stuff to learn more about the animes, but also to get more things like like DVDs and laser discs and that kind of stuff. Get all that sort of information, as well as videotape rentals and that kind of stuff too. But slowly, as this community sort of, or this this trek, pilgrimage, if you will, sometimes, occurred, more and more people wanted to basically join us on this journey into Richmond and to to see what this new stuff is, because this is exciting. This is an exciting sort of time where if you wanted to be on the the cutting edge, shall we say, of what anime was coming out, and knowing what was good and what was going to become available, what's happening on what's happening in the anime scene in Japan, that kind of stuff, to get some first-hand knowledge even on things like video games and that kind of stuff, then you wanted to be part of this group, right? Now, sure, it may sound kind of cliquish, it may sound kind of very elitist, maybe, kind of thing, but we kept it really open for everyone and anyone. And so basically, this allowed people to to come on down, and join us for for a trip down for essentially a big shopping trip. But it also allowed us to have you know, because the time that we go there, it's really close to dinner time. So basically, after we finish going to Awase, grabbing our books and that kind of stuff and whatnot, then we usually end up going to a place to to eat. And then also at the same time open up and look at our new books that we bought, our new magazines. We talk about different sort of things that we see in the magazine, saying oh, this is cool. They got the new volume of, let's say, Macross Plus. We want to to order this, or this would be cool. Oh man, this someone would point out some kind of weird sort of news or something about something occurring. Because some people can read the Japanese, and so this is very very kind of a sort of a great period to see. It's almost like Christmas almost, right? You went out and got this cool stuff, and now you're kind of opening everything up and seeing what what's cool and what's new. And so we've built this sort of almost like so shall we say a tradition of kind of getting together and going and doing this Awase run pretty much until Awase essentially ended up closing because of the changes in the market and that kind of stuff. Correspond usually also to how the video rental and that kind of tape market also declined, right? But yeah, but we still do to even today, still gather together as a group, to basically to have dinner and whatnot, and still celebrate certain things like the birthday parties and that kind of stuff. Even today, some almost 30 years later. And so this is a very special group of friends and special group of people that that came from basically running the anime store, and basically it's this sort of tight knit group is something that the modern day anime person, the millennials that are out there, probably cannot sort of appreciate and cannot feel, because of course a lot of you out there are just watching you got your Netflix, your Crunchyroll, your YouTube or whatever, and you're just watching whatever you want. You're not caring who else is watching what. You're not taking very many suggestions from other people on what to watch. You're just taking just everything that comes along and just watching it along, and basically just watching it by yourself basically. I'm sure you've got a small community of your friends that maybe you go to school with, or you have classes with, or you work with. Sure, you got a little group there, but you don't have a group that basically gathered together because of the fact that you like anime in the first place. Like you all share that same interest in anime, and then you just basically became more familiar with each other because and the things that you enjoy other than that, for example, like video games or sports or whatever. More people can get into those type of things. But to do it the other way around, it's really different, because as I said, in the modern era, no one really shall we say socializes in the real world. Everything's sort of all through social media, and everything can be done in the guise of handles and pseudonyms and stuff like that. Even for example, going through and doing live streams on Twitch or something like that, it doesn't have that same social interaction as if you would do it over a meal, for example. So that's sort of maybe one sort of lost art that has been kind of also lost in this sort of new modern era of how anime and anime the community has progressed. And then I guess that's kind of sad that's happened. But I'm sure the the anime community is still very strong in different ways. But that sort of closeness and kinship is probably a little bit missing in the newer generation of the I should say of the anime community. Okay, so what you want to do right now is you want to go down below and click like and click subscribe. I'm going to get into more stories about Anime Janai and basically some of the people that are on here, as I basically will basically invite some of my friends and whatnot and some of the customers that used to go to Anime Janai and see what they think and what they have how anime was for them and how anime has changed for them now. Which animes maybe they still follow and whatnot in the modern era. As well as I'm going to get into more stories about conventions, and of course we just passed Halloween, and so I'm going to get into some more stories about cosplay, because again that's one of the really popular sort of modern day topics that the modern day anime fan does a lot of. Okay, so until next time, see you again.